Good evening, children. Today we are going to begin the next chapter, that is the rise of Nazism and fascism in Germany. Now, as you all know, that the First World War started in the year 1914 up till 1918, and after that a treaty was signed, and that was known as the Treaty of Versailles, and it was signed in the year 1990. So in short, I will be telling you the important points: Nazism and the rise of Hitler, or you can say in other words, rise of dictatorship. In the decade after the First World War, that was from 1919 to 1929, democracy made remarkable progress all over the world. However, this trend did not last long and gave way to totalitarian dictatorships under different names and forms in Russia, Italy, Germany and Spain. But today we are going to study about Germany, Nazism and the rise of Hitler. Means that we are going to talk only about Germany. The defeat of the Imperial Germany and the abdication of the emperor gave an opportunity to parliamentary parties to recast German polity. Now this system had started. After that, a National Assembly met at Weimar Republic. A National Assembly met at Weimar and established a democratic constitution with federal structure. The birth of the Weimar Republic coincided with the revolutionary uprising of the Spartacist League on the pattern of Bolshevik revolution in Russia. Means whatever kind of things that have taken place in Russia, the same kind of things that started taking place in Germany also. After that, my point is to tell you that what was this? What were the causes of rise of Nazism? Firstly, we should be knowing that what were the causes for the rise of Nazism. My first point is humiliating Treaty of Versailles. Humiliating Treaty of Versailles is the first point. It simply says that the defeat in the First World War and the conditions imposed by the Treaty of Versailles made the Germans feel humiliated and helpless. And the important point that this Treaty of Versailles was especially made by the victorious nations, and the victorious nations were England, France, all these nations. Maximum credit goes to France and England. They were the root cause, or they were the main heads of the Treaty of Versailles. Under them only this treaty was signed. Germany was forced to cede. Now, first point, Germany was forced, or Germany was suppressed to cede large chunks of her territory to France. Means whatever area Germany was having, they were forced to give it to France, Belgium, Poland and Denmark. Her overseas possessions means your colonies, all the colonies. So all that areas during that time which were under Germany, they were being taken over by the other nations. The other nations have taken all those particular colonies which the Germans were having in the beginning period. After that, and now the hero of this in Germany, the hero became Adolf Hitler. Why? Because at that time there was a good crisis in economy, polity and society. It formed the background to Hitler's rise to power. And due to these economic, polity and social causes, Adolf Hitler became the hero and he came to power. Hitler was born in 1889 in Austria. and this person has earned medals for bravery during the First World War. At the time of the First World War only, this person has earned a lot of medals, means for bravery he was being awarded. But the defeat of Germany horrified him, and Versailles Treaty made him furious. This Treaty of Versailles made him very furious. In 1919, he joined a small group called the German Workers' Party. In 1919, he joined a small group called the German Workers' Party. He subsequently took over the organization and renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Remember the name? National Socialist German Workers' Party. And later on, this party only got the name of Nazi Party. Later on, this party, that was National Socialist German Workers' Party, got the name of Nazi Party. During the Great Depression, and this was the time enough depressions were there. The causes of the depression were because they have to pay a heavy war indemnity. During the Great Depression, the Nazism became a mass movement. Nazi propaganda stirred hopes of a better future. Now the people were hoping for a better future under Adolf Hitler. And by the year 1932, it became the largest party. Remember, by the year 1932, it became the largest party with 37% votes. Nazi propaganda skillfully projected Hitler as a Messiah. Now what is this Messiah? Messiah is a person who had arrived to get rid people from their distress. The word Messiah means a person who had arrived to get rid people from their distress. Now all the Germans were hoping from Adolf that he would sort out all the problems. On 30th January 1933, President Hindenburg offered the chancellorship, the highest position in cabinet ministers. In the year 1933, Hitler got the highest position. Having acquired power, Hitler set out to dismantle the structure of democratic rule. A mysterious fire that broke out in the German parliament building. A fire took place in the German parliament building in February. Facilitated his move. It supported his move. The first decree of 28 February 1933 indefinitely suspended civic rights like freedom of speech, press and assembly. Means after this fire issue, after this fire which took place in the building, in the parliament, after that a lot of problems occurred, and the problems were all the fundamental rights were being blocked. Fundamental rights were being blocked means the people were not having the right to speak, freedom of speech, press and assemble. All these things were being guaranteed by the Weimar Constitution. Then he turned on his arch enemies, the communists, and moved them to the newly established concentration camp. And after that, all the communist people, means the people, those were not of his party, those who were the opponents, these people were taken to the concentration camps. And this concentration camps, जो concentration camps होते थे, यहाँ पे आपके सोचने का तरीका बदल दिया जाता था. Means such harsh and severe punishments were there. Harsh and severe punishments used to be there, due to which you are going to change your mentality. मतलब वहाँ पे आपको अरेस्ट कर लिया, वहीं पे आपको छोड़ दिया और आपके दिमाग में सिर्फ नाजिज्म की फिलॉसफी डाली जाएगी. And after certain days, you yourself are going to follow the steps. After that, in the March 1933, the famous Enabling Act was passed. This act established dictatorship in Germany, and in 1933, Enabling Act was passed and it established dictatorship in Germany. And now all the powers came in the hands of Hitler and his sidelined parliament. All the powers came in the hands of Adolf Hitler and a sidelined parliament and ruled by decree. All the political parties and the trade unions were banned. All the other political parties were banned except the Nazi party. Why only Nazi party was left? Because it was belonging to Adolf Hitler. The state established complete control over the economy, media, army and judiciary, means the entire control on the issues of economy, media, army and judiciary were in the hands of Adolf Hitler, or you can say totalitarian government. The word I am using is totalitarian. This word totalitarian means that the total powers are vested in the hands of one person, and that person was none other than Adolf Hitler. Special surveillance and security forces were created to control and order society in ways that the Nazis wanted. Means whatever these Nazis wanted, the laws were made according to their choices. According to Adolf Hitler, the laws were made. Apart from the already existing regular police in green uniform, at the time the regular police was in green uniform, and the SA or the stormtroopers, this included the Gestapo, secret state police. At that time, secret state police was also established, or you can call it the protection squad, criminal police and the security service. Means a different kind of defense was also being prepared, and its duty was to put a control or to get all the informations. Protection squads or the any kind of secrecy is going on in the state, then it will be the Adolf Hitler will come to know about that. Hitler assigned the responsibility of economic recovery to the economist Hazalmer Sake, who aimed at full production and full employment through a state-funded work creation program. अब देखो, लोगों को खुश करने के लिए, लोगों को अपने हक में करने के लिए इन्होंने जो इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी की, मतलब पैसे रुपए से मजबूत होने के लिए कुछ काम किए, एंड द एंटायर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज वर गिवन टू हिजाल्मर सैकेट, who aimed at full production and full employment through a state funded work creation program. State का fund start होता था, and that was, the name was particular under the leadership of Hazalmer Sketch. These things have started. This project produced the famous German super highways and the people's car. You all would be knowing about the word. It starts with V, that's Volkswagen or Volkswagen, whatever the people call it. This project produced the famous German super highways and the people's car, that was Volkswagen. In foreign policy, Hitler pulled out of the League of Nations. Okay, at that time, after the First World War in the year 1919, League of Nations was formed. Now, what was the purpose of this League of Nations? The purpose of the League of Nations was to maintain international peace and security. Although it was made for this purpose, this League of Nations was made for this purpose, but it totally shattered down. It was having no powers of its own. On the other side, if you do remember the date, in which year, children, this UNO was formed? Tell me the answer. In which year UNO was formed? Janvi, Satyendra, Vanshika, tell me the date. Snigdha, Siddhant, Archika, Pratyush. When was? Tell me the date. When was the UNO established? Okay, Shrungarika has given the answer, Aniruddha. Good. The answer is 24th October 1945. Good children, Manas, Pratyush, Shrungarika. You have mentioned the date. Okay. Initially, this UNO, in 1945, it came to an international organization. But in the year 1919, this League of Nations was there. It was meant for the same purpose. It was having the same principles what UNO was possessing. But due to in 1919, what happened? This League of Nations was formed, but it was having none of its laws. All the nations have forcefully have signed this League of Nations. They have taken the membership. But as with the passage of time, their powers started increasing. They started leaving out the League of Nations. The causes of the failure of League of Nations, first point, it was not having any finance, it was not having any defense, and it was open for all the members, whether you follow its policies or not. None of the principles were made at that time. In foreign policy, Hitler pulled out of the League of Nations in 1933, reoccupied Rhineland in 1936. Again, he took control of Rhineland in the year 1936 and integrated Austria and Germany, and mixed up with Austria and Germany in 1933 under the slogan, "One people, one empire and one leader." सीधा सा मतलब याद रखना, एक देश, एक पार्टी और एक नेता. ओके, इसके अलावा दूसरा चीज क्या थी इसमें? द सेकंड पॉइंट वाज, and the single word for this one people, one empire and one leader is totalitarian government or dictatorship. In Hindi we call this word as Tanashah. Sachs advised Hitler against investigating hugely in rearmament as the state still ran on deficit financing. अब उस समय देश की हालत क्या थी? हथियारों के मामले में ये कमज़ोर पड़ रहे थे. सो अगेन रीआर्मामेंट स्टार्टेड. लोगों ने फिर से अपने हथियार बढ़ाना स्टार्ट कर दिए. हिटलर चूज वॉर एज द वे आउट ऑफ द अप्रोचिंग इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस. अच्छा, उस समय पूरे विश्व में लगभग और खास करके जर्मनी में देयर वाज अ इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस. सो हिटलर, अकॉर्डिंग टू हिटलर, द ओनली मेथड टू मूव आउट ऑफ दिस अप्रोचिंग इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस was war. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Remember, in September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. This started a war with England and France. देखो, लड़ाई यहाँ पे जर्मनी और पोलैंड की है. जर्मनी ने पोलैंड पे कब्जा कर लिया. लड़ाई सिर्फ दो देशों की है, लेकिन इसमें दूसरे यूरोपियन देश प्रवेश कर गए. This started a war with England and France. In September 1940, a tripartite pact was signed between Germany, Italy and France. 1940 में एक पैक्ट साइन हुआ जर्मनी, इटली और फ्रांस के बीच में, strengthening Hitler's claim to international power. And by the end of 1940, by the end of the year 1940, Hitler was at the pinnacle of his power. What is the meaning of the word pinnacle? The word pinnacle means he was on its apex. Apex means on the topmost layer. During that time, he was having the entire powers. Hitler attacked the Soviet Union. Hitler attacked the Soviet Union. Soviet Union here stands for your Russia, USSR. In June 1941. In this historic blunder, Hitler exposed the German Western Front to British aerial bombing and the Eastern Front to the powerful Soviet armies. The Soviet Red Army inflicted a crushing and humiliating defeat on Germany at Stalingrad. After this, they hounded the retreating German soldiers until they reached the heart of Berlin, established Soviet hegemony over the entire Eastern Europe. अब वहाँ पे गलती क्या हुई हिटलर से कि हिटलर की जो लड़ाई थी वो पोलैंड से थी दूसरे देश इसमें एंटर हुए, और एट द सेम टाइम जर्मनी की या हिटलर की जो राजनीति थी या जो रणनीति थी वो थोड़ी गलत हो गई। एक तरफ रशिया, एक तरफ फ्रांस। अब जब दोनों तरफ से अटैक होता है आपके ऊपर, तो यू कैन ब्लॉक और यू कैन सेफ गार्ड योर सेल्फ फ्रॉम ओनली वन साइड, सो दैट वॉज द ड्रॉबैक। जापान एक्सटेंडेड इट्स सपोर्ट टू हिटलर, दूसरी तरफ जापान अपना पूरा समर्थन दे रहा था हिटलर को, एंड बॉम्ब्ड यूएस बेस। अच्छा ध्यान से सुनना, जापान बॉम्ब्ड यूएस बेस एट पर्ल हार्बर, ड्यू टू विच द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स एंटर्ड द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर। यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स इस वर्ल्ड वॉर में कहीं नहीं था। अब जो टीम थी वो क्या थी? जर्मनी, इटली, जापान। जो जापान का देश था, जो जापान था, इसका नुकसान क्या था? देखो, जापान और जर्मनी एक टीम में थे, या इसको हम कह सकते हैं रोम बर्लिन टोक्यो एक्सिस, जर्मनी इटली जापान। अब ये देश तो अपना सरेंडर करते जा रहे थे, जर्मनी भी सरेंडर करने को तैयार था, बस जापान ने गलती ये करी कि जापान अटैक्ड ऑन द पर्ल हार्बर पोर्ट, जो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का बेस था पर्ल हार्बर, वहां पे अटैक कर दिया। ये यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का था। अब जब यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का ये नुकसान किया, तो देन यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स एंटर्ड द वॉर। द वॉर एंडेड इन May 1945 विद हिटलर्स डिफीट एंड द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स। सभी देश सरेंडर करते जा रहे थे, हिटलर हार गए और उन्होंने भी सरेंडर कर दिया। जो पहले बॉम्ब्स गिरे थे दैट वर ऑन हिरोशिमा एंड नागासाकी। जो शुरुआती बॉम्ब गिरे थे वो हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी में गिरे थे, एंड द 2 एटम बॉम्ब्स वर ड्रॉप्ड। अच्छा, इसका नुकसान क्या हुआ? इसका नुकसान बाद में हुआ। You would be knowing, children, that till today Japan is suffering due to the attacks which were made in the year 1945. 1945 का असर अभी तक जापान पे है। ऑल द नेचुरल डिजास्टर्स और जो उनकी कैलेमिटी आती है, सुनामी कहर जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं, दैट इज ड्यू टू दिस एटॉमिक अटैक्स। थोड़ा सा हम लोग बात करते हैं अब इसके बाद पीरियड ऑफ नाजिज्म की। द नाजी आइडियोलॉजी वॉज सिनोनिमस with Hitler's worldview. According to this, there was no equality between people, but only a racial hierarchy. The blonde, blue-eyed, Nordic German Aryans were at the top, while the Jews were located at the lowest rung. Now the condition was, एक तो जर्मन्स थे, जो नॉर्डिक जर्मन आर्यंस थे, ये अपने आप को आर्यंस मानते थे, एंड द आर्यंस वर सुपीरियर, एंड ऑन द अदर साइड देयर वाज द कास्ट, द रिलीजन ऑफ ज्यूज, और ज्यूज को सबसे नीचे माना जाता था, मींस दे वर एट द बॉटम ऑफ द सोसाइटी। दे केम टू बी रिगार्डेड एज एन एंटी रेस, द ज्यूज केम टू बी रिगार्डेड एज एन एंटी रेस, द आर्क एनिमीज ऑफ द आर्यंस। ऑल अदर कलर्ड पीपल were placed in between depending upon their external features. Hitler's racism was borrowed from thinkers like Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. Darwin's ideas were used by racial thinkers and politicians to justify imperial rule over conquered people. The other aspect of Hitler's ideology was related to the geopolitical concept of Lebensraum or living space. That was the philosophy. So due to this, the Hitler and his team were considering themselves as superiors, whereas they were considering the Jews as of the inferior race, and the entire credit, I would say, the entire cause of the First World War was being put on the Jews. प्रथम विश्व युद्ध में जर्मनी की हार का कारण जीव्स को माना गया। जीव्स को ये दिखाने का प्रयास किया जा रहा था कि वो बहुत ही निम्न श्रेणी के हैं, और जो जर्मन्स या जो हिटलर या जो उनकी बिरादरी है वो ऊंची जाति के हैं या ऊंची धर्म के हैं। Hitler intended to extend German boundaries by moving eastwards to concentrate all German geographically in one place. Poland became the laboratory for this experimentation. और पोलैंड में पूरे एक्सपेरिमेंट्स हो रहे थे। Once in power, the Nazis began to implement their dream of creating an exclusive। अच्छा, जैसे ही लोग पावर में आए, नाजीज जैसे ही पावर में आए, इनको लगा दैट दे कैन एक्सक्लूसिव रेशियल कम्युनिटी ऑफ प्योर जर्मन्स, कि अब इनकी अब सत्ता, नाउ हिटलर हैज कम इन पावर, हिज थिंकिंग वाज दैट नाउ दे कैन क्रिएट एन एक्सक्लूसिव रेशियल कम्युनिटी ऑफ प्योर जर्मन्स। They wanted a society of pure and healthy Nordic Aryans. Only they were seen as worthy of prospering and multiplying against all others. Those Germans who were seen as impure had no right to exist. Under the euthanasia program, Nazi officials condemned to death many Germans who were considered मेंटली और फिजिकली अनफिट। तो सबसे बड़ा कहर क्या था एडोल्फ हिटलर के समय का, कि जो उन्हीं के देश का था, जो वहीं का नागरिक है या सिपाही है, अगर वो मानसिक रूप से या शारीरिक रूप से, इफ मेंटली और फिजिकली, इफ ही इज नॉट फाउंड फिट, देन ही वुड बी पनिश्ड और ही वुड बी किल्ड। दैट वाज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ जर्मनी। अगर आप फिट हैं तभी आप फौज के हैं, मानसिक रूप से आप दुरुस्त हैं तभी। अच्छा, उनकी मानसिकता का मेथड क्या होता था? ऑन व्हाट बेसिस दे यूज्ड टू सी द पीपल, मेंटल स्टैंडर्ड। यू शुड बी हैविंग द कंप्लीट फीलिंग्स ऑफ आर्यंस, दैट यू आर सुपीरियर एंड यू शुड बी कंसिडरिंग योरसेल्फ सुपीरियर एंड द अदर एज इंफीरियर्स। ये इनकी मानसिकता थी। Jews remained the worst sufferers in Germany. जो Jews थे वो सबसे बड़े sufferers थे। This hatred had a precursed in the traditional Christian hostility towards Jews. The Christians were totally against the Jews. They had been stereotyped as killers of Christ and usurers. ये माना जाता था कि ये लोग stereotype हैं, जो Jews हैं stereotypes हैं और इनको Christ का किलर माना जाता था। Hitler's hatred of Jews were based on pseudo-scientific theories. जो ये थ्योरी थी, Hitler's hatred of Jews was based on pseudo-scientific theories of race, which held that conversion was no solution to the Jewish problem. It could only be solved through total elimination. तो उसका सीधा मतलब क्या हुआ? बाकी लोग अगर सुधार कर लेते हैं, दूसरे धर्म के लोग अगर सुधार कर लेते हैं अपने में, तो जो लोग हैं वो सरवाइव कर पाएंगे, जो उनका रिलीजन है वो आगे बढ़ पाएगा। लेकिन जीव्स के लिए ये माना जाता था कि जीव्स प्रॉब्लम का एक ही सॉल्यूशन है कि उसको आप ख़त्म कर दीजिए थ्रू टोटल एलिमिनेशन। इसको टोटली एलिमिनेट कर दीजिए, एकदम बाहर कर दीजिए, ये अपने आप ख़त्म हो जाएगी। द फेस बिटवीन 1939 and 1945 aimed at concentrating Jews in certain areas and eventually kill them in gas chambers in Poland. उस समय एडोल्फ हिटलर के जो गैस चैम्बर्स थे वो बहुत फेमस थे। उनको ये माना जाता था कि अगर कोई गैस चैम्बर में चला गया, पनिशमेंट फॉर्म में गया, तो उसका जिंदा लौटना बहुत मुश्किल है। ये उस समय की फीलिंग थी। गैस चैम्बर में भेजने का मतलब था दैट योर मेंटेलिटी शुड बी चेंज्ड। अगर आप बदल गए तो बहुत अच्छी बात, नहीं बदले तो दैट वुड बी योर एंडिंग टाइम। अच्छा देखो, उस समय जो नाइज्म का पीरियड था, ऑल द टीचर्स इन द स्कूल्स हु वर जीव्स और सीन एज पॉलिटिकली अनरिलायबल वर डिसमिस्ड। मतलब जो भी जीव रिलीजन के थे या जो पॉलिटिकली अनरिलायबल थे, उनको जॉब से हटा दिया गया। गुड जर्मन चिल्ड्रन वर सब्जेक्टेड टू अ प्रोसेस ऑफ नाजी स्कूलिंग। जो स्कूल चलते हैं शुरुआत से ही उसमें नाजिज्म की टीचिंग्स दी जाने लगी। नाजिज्म की टीचिंग्स का मतलब हो गया कि हम वी आर ऑन द टॉप, आर रिलीजन इज द बेस्ट एंड वी आर द Aryans. We Aryans are the superior. And hatred, and from their schooling period onwards, a hatred was being created for the other religions and especially for the Jews. School textbooks were rewritten. अब देखो, जब हिटलर का दौर आया तो उन्होंने पूरा सिलेबस चेंज कर दिया, पूरी किताबें फिर से लिखनी पड़ी. Racial science was introduced to justify Nazi ideas of रेस. अब रेसिज्म की जगह हम बात करते हैं तो जाति के हिसाब से भी द जर्मन्स वर ट्राइंग टू प्रूव, और हिटलर्स टारगेट वाज टू प्रूव दैट दे आर द मोस्ट सुपीरियर वन. ये लोग सबसे ऊपर हैं, वो लोग सबसे धीरे हैं, और वो दीज पीपल सबसे उच्च पे इन द टॉप ऑफ द सोसाइटी, दे आर ओनली देयर. बाकी जितने भी दूसरे धर्म हैं या कास्ट हैं वो सब इनसे नीचे. द यूथ लीग ऑफ नाजीज वॉज फाउंडेड इन 1922. 4 years later it was renamed as हिटलर यूथ. अब देखो, आज के टाइम में जब बच्चा छोटा होता है, जैसे तुम लोग अभी 9th-10th में हो, 10th में हो तुम लोग, तो वी पीपल डोंट टीच यू कि विच रिलीजन इज गुड और विच रिलीजन इज बैड. बट in the period of Hitler, children from their primary, from the first, second class only, they were filled, it was filled in their minds that their religion, the Aryans, means the Germans, are superior and the Jews were inferior. They were being taught for having the feeling of ill willingness or illness towards other religion. दूसरे धर्मों की कमी आपको बचपन से दिखाई जाती थी, ये पढ़ाया जाता था. और उसके पीछे द मेन पर्पस बिहाइंड दिस वाज दैट ऑल द चिल्ड्रन शुड बी टोटली नेशन ओरिएंटेड. सब के सब देश के लिए तैयार हों. अच्छा देखो, जितने बच्चे हैं आगे चल के ये बड़े होंगे, यंगस्टर्स में कन्वर्ट हो जाएंगे. अगर यंगस्टर्स जो हैं वो हिटलर के साथ हैं, देन हिटलर वुड बी एबल टू रूल फॉर अ लॉन्गर ड्यूरेशन ऑफ टाइम. और दूसरी चीज़ कि जो भी डिफेंस बनेगी, आगे चल के जो भी फौज बनेगी, वो उसमें ये जो बच्चे होंगे, जो स्टूडेंट्स होंगे, दे आर गोइंग टू विलिंगली पार्टिसिपेट. ये लोग अपने पूरे मन से उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे. ये इनकी फिलॉसफी चल रही थी उस समय. मैनी सॉ द वर्ल्ड थ्रू नाजी आइज एंड स्पोक देयर माइंड इन नाजी लैंग्वेज. दे फेल्ट एंगर एंड हेट्रेड surge inside them when they saw someone who looked like a Jew, but not every German was a Nazi. Many organized active resistance to Nazism, braving police repression and death. A large number of Germans were passive onlookers and apathetic witnesses. They were too sacred to act and protest. Pastor Nemoiller, a resistance fighter, observed an absence of protest and uncanny silence among ordinary Germans and organized crimes committed against people in the Nazi Empire. देखो, कुछ लोग अपने धर्म के लिए होते हैं, सभी को देश से प्यार होता है, but it doesn't mean that you are having the hatredness for the other religions. कुछ लोग हिटलर को सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, लेकिन कई ऐसे ग्रुप थे जो कि एकदम शांत बैठे थे इस पर. Why? Because they were considering it as a totally inhuman treatment. After the war ended and Germany was defeated, the world came to realize the horrors of what had happened. Germany, First World War हो चाहे Second World War हो, in both the wars Germany have lost the battle. The Jews wanted the world to remember the atrocities and sufferings they had endured during Nazi killing operations, also called the Holocaust. On the other hand, when the war seemed lost, the Nazi leadership distributed petrol to its functionaries to destroy all incriminating evidence available in offices. अब एक फैक्ट ये समझो कि जब जर्मन्स को लगा कि वो लोग बैटल हार रहे हैं, तो उस समय एडोल्फ हिटलर के आदेश पे किरोसिन ऑयल जैसे कह सकते हैं हम लोग पेट्रोल या दूसरी चीज़ें, जितने भी उनके ऑफिसेस थे उनको पेट्रोल से जला दिया गया। जो भी उसमें डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे, ऑल द थिंग्स वर बीइंग डिस्ट्रॉयड, ऑल इंक्रिमिनेटिंग एविडेंस अवेलेबल इन ऑफिसेस। जो भी ऑफिस में जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे, एविडेंसेस जो थे, उन सबको जला दिया गया। द पर्पस बिहाइंड दिस वॉज दैट एट द टाइम जर्मनी मीन्स एडोल्फ हिटलर वॉज ऑन इट्स पीक, ही वॉज ऑन द जेनिथ ऑफ हिज पावर्स एंड ही हैज़ इंट्रोड्यूस्ड सेवरल काइंड ऑफ आइडियाज। उन्होंने कई इस तरीके की चीज़ें क्रिएट की थी जिससे लोग जो हैं इनके ही धर्म को फॉलो करें, मतलब दे शुड बिकम टोटली पैट्रियट, they should be becoming totally patriot. At the time of battle they all should be ready. लोग अपनी जान कुर्बान करने के लिए तैयार हैं। ये all these things were very right, but some of the people, minor groups, were totally against this. Why? Because these things were going in inhuman conditions. Now 2-3 words are there which I would like to tell you. The first one is proletarianization, and anxiety of being reduced to the ranks of the working class or becoming unemployed. My second word is Masiha. This Masiha means someone who had arrived to rid people from their distress. The third word is concentration camp, a camp where people were isolated and detained without due process of law. देखो ये जो वर्ड है concentration camps, आज के टाइम में क्या होता है, इफ़ यू आर बीइंग फाउंड गिल्टी, अगर कोई दोषी पाया जाता है तो उसको लॉ एंड ऑर्डर जज या कोर्ट उसको जो भी पनिशमेंट देती है, दैट पर्सन हैज़ टू गो अंडर इट। बट जो कंसंट्रेशन कैंप्स थे, यहाँ का सिस्टम एकदम अलग था। यहाँ पे लोगों को आइसोलेट कर दिया जाता था। आइसोलेट मतलब एकदम किनारे कर देना, एकदम अकेले करना। और इनकी जो इंक्वायरीज होती थी उसमें इन लोग को मौका नहीं मिलता था कि दैट दे कैन प्रूव देमसेल्फ। कोई लॉ का प्रोसेस नहीं था, कोई नियम कानून नहीं था। तानाशाही है। अगर आपको ये इंसान सही लगता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, नहीं सही लगता है इट मीन्स ही इज अ कल्प्रिट, he is a criminal and you can punish that person. So that kind of system were being created during that time. Now let's move to the question. Now children, be ready for the MCQ. It would be displayed on your screen. Okay, as you can see the question, the first question is, when did Nazism develop in Germany? When did Nazism develop in Germany? Option 1, before the First World War. Option 2, during the First World War. Option 3, after the First World War. And option 4, after the Second World War. Now what's the answer for this question? Priya Yadav, check your answer. Okay. Again, Priya Yadav, I would say you check your answer. See the options carefully. Before the First World War, during the First World War, after the First World War, and after the Second World War. So children, the correct answer for this question is after the First World War. जब पहला विश्व युद्ध चल रहा था उसके बाद हिटलर पावर में आया। आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर हिटलर केम इन पावर। और जो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर चल रहा था, एट द टाइम हिटलर इनरोल्ड फॉर द आर्मी एंड वन मेडल्स फॉर ब्रेवरी इन 1919. He joined a small group called the German Workers' Party, which was later overtaken by Hitler and came to be known as Nazi Party. In the beginning points, I have stated this line. Now the second question. My second question is, which of the following statements does not match the Nazi thinking? Option 1, there was no equality between people but only a racial hierarchy. The Jews were regarded as an anti-race and arch enemies of Aryans. Option 3, a society of pure and healthy Nordic Aryans was desirable. Only the Jews were considered undesirable. Now tell me the answer, children. Vanshika, Saurabh Shukla, Manas, Pratyush, Snigdha, Siddhant, Satyendra, Shringarika, Sahil, Janvi. Tell me the answer for the second question. What's the answer? Anirudh has sent the answer, option number 3. Okay, other children, send your answer. Read the question carefully. The question is, which of the following statements does not match the Nazi thinking? Priya, Shringarika, read the question carefully. Snigdha, Siddhant. Okay, children, I am coming to the answer. The correct answer is given by Anirudh Dwivedi. That is option 4. I tell you the reason for this. Jews were not the only community. Jews were not the only community classified as undesirables. There were others. Many gypsies and blacks living in Nazi Germany were considered as racial inferiors who threatened the biologically purity of the superior Aryan race. Now let's move to the third question. Hitler assigned the responsibility of economic recovery to the economist Hjalmar Schacht. However, Schacht had to leave. What was the reason behind this? इसके पीछे क्या कारण था? One line I have used here. Vanshika Kushwaha has sent the answer, and the answer is correct. This is the correct answer, which is being given by Vanshika. Other children also, send your answers fast. This is my third question. Yes, Priya, good. The answer is right. The correct answer for this question is 3. Option 3 is the correct one. It says Hjalmar Schacht aimed at full production and full employment through state-funded work creation program. This project produced the famous German superhighway and the people's car, Volkswagen. Schacht had advised Hitler against investing hugely in rearmament as the state still ran on deficit financing. This word deficit financing means उस समय जो देश था वो आर्थिक नुकसान में चल रहा था. Cautious people, however, had no place in Nazi Germany. ऐसे लोग जो कॉशियस थे, जो देश के लिए सोच रहे थे, उनकी हिटलर की नज़रों में कोई जगह नहीं थी. तो इसलिए इनके इस मिनिस्टर को स्केचर हैड टू लीव. नाउ सी द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन चिल्ड्रन. My next question is, consider the following statements and identify the correct response from the options given thereafter. Statement 1. Hitler's racism was borrowed from thinkers like Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. Statement 2. The Aryan race had to retain its purity, become stronger and dominated the world. First statement, statement 1 is false and statement 2 is true. This is a very confusing question. Read this question in a proper manner. Statement 1 is true and statement 2 is false. Both statement first and second are true and statement second is the correct explanation of the statement 1. Both statements 1 and 2 are true, but statement second is not correct explanation of statement. Now this is the confusing question. Yes, Anirudh has given the answer. Kushagra has given the answer. Good, Kushagra. Kushagra, just look into your answer again. Anirudh Dwivedi, correct. The answer of Anirudh Dwivedi is correct. Kushagra, look into your answer once more. Now children, I am telling you the answer for this. Yes, option C or option 3 is correct. The reason for this is Herbert Spencer gave the idea of survival of the fittest. Remember this line? Herbert Spencer gave the idea of survival of the fittest, and Darwin explained the concept of evolution and natural selection. The Nazis' argument was that the strongest race would survive and the weak ones would perish. The Aryan race was the finest. It had to retain its purity, become stronger and dominate the world. These are the children. I'll be sending you these questions. This nearly 15 questions are there. I'll be sending you these questions in the group. It is right. I'll be sending you the questions and the answers also of these particular questions. So for today, this much only. In the next NTSC class, we'll be talking about a new chapter, and the